Who is Oana Barabula?
Ooh, that's a that's probably a question with a very long answer. So I was born and raised in Romania, went abroad to Germany for my university studies. That's where I did my bachelor's. I studied business administration, finance and management. The focus was more on finance and management, to be honest. Um, Spent 3.5 years there with a short break in Australia. Um, Worked there as well a little bit, and then finally moved to the Netherlands a year and a half ago, where I finished my master's. I studied global business and sustainability at the Rotterdam School of Management here in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. And yeah, I decided to stay in the Netherlands after that because the country really fit to my profile. I love traveling. I love funny people. I love fun people. So anything that's active and doing really fun and active activities next to your daily work or daily studies. So that's why I decided to stay, and also because I found a really nice career opportunity here. So as I said, I now work in a energy and gas company. And yeah, so far I'm really happy with my choices. As I said, I'm an avid traveler. I love cooking, I love reading, and I love foreign languages. So I'm trying to learn Dutch now. That's my fourth, and I'm struggling with that. So so far so good.
What brought you to the Netherlands?
Well, as I said, I decided to come here to do my master's. So initially, how it was for me is that I was working back in Germany. During my studies, I was working part-time for this pharmaceutical company, and I was working in non-financial sustainability reporting, right? So doing the sustainability reports. And to come back to that type of job, I wanted to do a master's, kind of get more knowledge on sustainability, on everything that is, systems thinking, life cycles, all of those stuff that you keep hearing about, but you don't really understand from a technical point of view, or what it really means, like what other research is there for sustainability, so on and so forth. And I was looking for masters, and I found a master at RSM that was really well reviewed, and a lot of people were telling me that it's a really good one. It also only lasted 1 year, so it's not like a 2-year master. So I really like that. So my idea was come to the Netherlands, do the masters, learn a lot, go back to Germany, right? And I came to the Netherlands, and I hated the weather in the first months I was here, so the plan still stood. And then eventually, I actually fell in love with the country. So I decided to stay. So it was never planned that I stay, in the Netherlands. It was never one of these decisions like, yes, this country is for me. It was mostly like I don't know, step by step thing. Like first, getting to know the people, then getting to finding a good job. And then eventually it all came down to it. The country also has like a really good, or at least had and has a really good reputation for me as a country that's quite sustainability oriented, and people are a bit more proactive and having a stance with anything climate change, energy transition. I feel like I've heard more in the Netherlands about it than I heard before wherever else I lived, even though it's a subject on anybody's lips, right? But in the Netherlands, I feel like people were a bit more proactive. So that as a person, involved in this field, I really like that stuff.
What is your role in energy transition and maybe future ambitions?
Well, yeah, that's again another question with a very long answer. So I'm sorry if I'm talking a lot. Just stop me if I'm rambling. Um, so right now, as I said, I'm working in the energy industry. I am really kind of in the middle of this energy transition topic. I'm trying to understand the complexity of all the supply chains in this field, because it's not only one, it's so many. I'm trying to understand the kind of like the interconnectivity between all of the environmental and social and political factors, economic factors as well. There's so many energy transitions, and there's so many opinions, and there's so many, dependencies out there. And I think for me right now, my role is that of learning it and understanding, looking at it with a critical eye, trying to understand, what is viable, what is not, what is a good initiative, what is something that is long term, what is something that is more short term transitional solution, what is something that is there to stay. Um, I have this triangle in my head, sustainability, affordability, security. So trying to kind of combine all these three things, because it's really, really hard to find the one shoe fits all type of solution for the energy transition. So that's kind of what my role currently is. I'm a business analyst at the moment. So it's a lot of research, but it's also a lot of evaluating the current business models and taking a look at things, at different projects, at different solutions, and then yeah, for future ambitions, that kind of feeds really well into this second part of your question, because it's I'm figuring out my role, right? So by doing all of these things, I'm really just trying to figure out what my role can be, what would fit best to my skill set, but also to what I'm interested in. Also to how I can use my leadership skills to lead this change towards, a better energy portfolio for the world and a better pace for the transition. Because to me, that's really, really important. Like, there's a lot of solutions out there, and there's a lot of alternatives, and there's a lot of new things, but how fast all of them can be implemented and how viable all of them are, that's the harder part, right? Like actually implementing all of the ideas. So my future ambition is to actually bring to life some of the very ambitious ideas that we have currently out there.
Are you thinking of returning in your home country and continue working on energy transition over there?
Mm, yeah, I thought about this question for a minute, because so far I didn't think of that. Like, I didn't leave my country with the idea that, oh, I want to work in the energy transition and I don't have a job here, so I'll go abroad, or I don't like what my country is doing and I'll go abroad, right? For me, working in the energy transition or in the energy industry came almost like as a interest during my master's, where I was studying and then I was like, this, energy topic is really fascinating, and energy finance is really cool. And then actually I would like to get involved, all hands on deck. So I've never really thought of my home country in this context, because yeah, I just started with this, right? I do think that when it comes to the energy transition, all countries are really interconnected. You have energy security, you have financial reasons, you have all of the supply chain, right? So I can't say, oh, I'm working in the Netherlands, I have nothing to do with Romania, because to be honest, in my emails I have Romania quite a lot. So it's not a super separate thing where I'm so far away and I don't do anything for my country. I do want to contribute in a way to its energy transition, though. Like, I do keep that in mind as I go on with my work, but I don't know if maybe that's from the perspective of somebody actually doing something in Romania, or more from the perspective of a person looking at the project with two views, looking from the point of view of the person living in the Netherlands, where the situation is one way, the portfolio is one way, the financial possibilities and resources are in one way. And then also looking at it from the perspective of a Romanian, what if I were to live in Romania, would this be viable for me? Would this work for me? Is this a good solution for, everyone, or is this just a type of local solution? So in a sense, I think how I'm contributing is more of, yeah, working in a company and trying to make sure that their solutions would actually fit more than just the place they're situated in, or the local mindset.
But do you know how is energy transition taking shape in Romania? What are the activities?
Oof, there's a lot. So I think like Romania is an interesting case study, to be honest, because it has a lot of, not contradictions. How do I say it? It's like it's different than you'd expect, I'd say. So for me, how I see it, and again, maybe I'm biased because I've lived abroad for over 5 years now. So as much as I'm connected to home, I'm not as connected to Romanian news as German and Dutch news. But I think it's really racing ahead with anything sustainability related. I think the big trigger that was there for the whole world really this winter, when it comes to energy prices and product shortages, right, with gas and fuel oil shortages, like the whole crisis that happened this winter with rising energy prices really hurt everyone in Europe, to be honest. So in Romania was no different. We had a lot of subsidies from the government trying to help people acquire their own solar panels for their homes. Mm, So we had a lot of people being worried about it, but also trying to become a bit more independent. I think it's not really, the energy transition is not really focused on a change in the energy source. It's not as simple as that. Traditionally, Romania was reliant on coal and gas and oil, but if you look at European level, Romania is actually below the European average when it comes to dependency on Russian oil. We're like at 15%, and the European average is 25%. So it's not really about the energy source. I think what people understood from the crisis this winter was about energy independence. It wasn't about, oh no, gas is expensive, we need to find another source. It was really more, oh, energy is expensive, it would be better if we were independent. So prosuming. So I think that really launched a huge desire for Romanian consumers to be independent, to get their own solar panels, to generate their own electricity and then feed it back to the grid if it's in excess. So it was really different than I would say I noticed in Western Europe, where the main worry was who can we buy from now that we do not have this source. It was really on prosuming. So I think that's the big energy transition that's going on in Romania right now. Uh,
What are the
yeah.
differences between the Netherlands and Romania when it comes to working on energy transition for young people?
When it comes to working, that's really
Maybe
interesting. I
general
think
opportunities.
mm. Well, I think I don't, to be honest, I cannot judge it that well because I've never worked in energy in Romania. So it would be wrong of me to say, oh, there's no opportunities to work back there and there are here. Because to be honest, I do believe we have so many renewable sources in Eastern Europe. Maybe not necessarily more than the Netherlands because we have wind here, but there's quite a lot. Like I think of Romania, you have potential for geothermal, although it's not exploited at all. You have a lot of hydro. I think, what was it, 20% or something that comes from hydro in Romania's energy portfolio. So it's not, it's not a little percentage. Like it's quite a lot. You have a very interesting climate in Eastern Europe. It's even more temperate continental, so you have sun in the summer, and you have winds in autumn. So you theoretically do have a lot of potential to exploit this. I think the only difference is that the to invest in these projects you need money. Like it will always, from how I see it, at the end of the day, you need funds to be directed towards these initiatives. And most of the times, the companies that have these funds are going to be situated more in Western Europe. And they're also going to be looking in Western Europe because they're located. And it's always easier to relate to what is around like you think of it as something far away. You could also, I think, for Romania in general, a barrier could also be the country profile, the fact that it's a country at the risk of corruption. So a lot of times when companies think of investing, let's say in a wind project, right, you just feel more in control if you invest offshore Netherlands than if you invest offshore Romania, because you don't know, your funds will go through so many hands that at some point you actually cannot really evaluate how your project is doing. So I think that's one fear that people have, and that's why there would be less, I don't know, Kickstarter projects. There's a lot to do, but if you want to kickstart a project, I think I would see it less in Romania than in the Netherlands. So from that point of view, yeah, I would say it's better. Yeah.
What can young professionals learn from each other, and what can they do to have a more active voice in energy transition?
I really like this question because it's also what I'm often talking to my peers from my master's. I studied a master in sustainability, so everyone is really into things sustainability related, and of course, like working in energy, working for energy and gas company. The main question that I get is regarding what can you learn from each other, or like how can you, they ask me, have you asked yourself how can you have a more active voice, in the whole transition thing. I think the first thing that I would say is embrace the complexity. It's not as easy as, you know, let's divest, let's invest only in wind and solar, and hydrogen is going to work as of 2024, and let's go. It's not as easy. It's you need so many industries and so many countries to work together on things. I think people should be a bit more open-minded, should be a bit more critical of ideas, and really think feasibility as key and not, I often notice that young professionals in the energy industry are so, passionate and blinded, which is good, to have the drive to change the energy portfolio of the world and so on. People forget to think about feasibility of projects. Does that help countries that are not as rich as ours with energy security? Can people in other areas of the world use this solution to, you know, kind of develop different places, different paces? I like to call it, right? Are we devising something for ourselves, or are we devising something for the world? And if you're devising something for, a local solution, then that is fine. But then, as I said, embrace the complexity, and people should let go a little bit more of being blinded by anything that's new and shiny. And actually, it's a lot of hard work, and if the system is very complex, and it's not going to be nice, and there's going to be moments when, to ensure energy security, you will have to, not have only wind and solar, because that's just at the moment not as widespread to fuel the whole country, let's say. If you take certain examples, of course, not every country I'm talking about, but I'm just giving, let's say, Romania, right? You can't say as of tomorrow we shut down everything and we only have solar or we only have wind. You can't do it. So it's just people need to be acceptant of the complexity. People need to be patient, but at the same time ambitious and hardworking to make it faster, as fast as possible. Because that's also my personal goal, right? I just want to see it happen yesterday, if I could. But the reality, especially working in the industry, the reality hits you that it's much harder than that. It's so complex. It's not as easy. So
Oana, thank you for being my guest today.
thank you for the interview.
Good luck.
Thank you.